You're listening to the Wired for Impact podcast. I have a very special episode today. I've got someone on who is not going to be sharing her name during the conversation for good reason. We're going to be talking about what I think is one of the biggest problems in the country, if not the world right now, and that has to do with sex trafficking. I've had other guests on my podcast that have shared their experiences having been actually trafficked. But my guest today is known as T-coy the Decoy, and she is someone that is a decoy online, jumps online and starts conversations with people. And when they bring up sexual intent, she goes and essentially busts them. So T-coy, thank you for joining me today. I'm looking forward to this conversation. It's going to be a very interesting conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you. So this is obviously a pretty big problem, and it's your perspective, I think, is a very unique one because you're really on the front lines. I mean, you're dealing with this essentially day in and day out. How pervasive is this problem? Can you give us a sense of how many traffickers and abusers are there out there? Like when you go online to do your thing, is it hard to find people? How quickly are you finding people, and how do you go about doing that?
Yeah, that's what's wild is when I started, I thought, oh my God, this is going to be so hard. Like, let me say I'm 15 because, oh my God, like I'm afraid because, the goal is to catch them, not just talk with them, is to expose them so that people know who is trying to, because if they're going to talk to one kid, why wouldn't they talk to yours? I hate to say it, but like your kid isn't special and everybody thinks their kid is beautiful. The predators think, I don't really know what they find the beauty in exactly, but if your mom works a lot, if she's really busy and you're in the after school program or their kid plays on the same team as your kid and it's the really cool dad that wants all the cheerleader dad that wants all the girls to stay the night. There's probably a reason he wants them all to stay the night. He's not just being a nice guy. I'm not saying that there aren't nice guys out there, but there's just no reason to be extra nice to people like that.
Yeah.
It takes seconds to a minute. If you were to make a child account online on Instagram, Facebook, like Kik, Snapchat, anything, if you put, I'm 13 years old, you could put, the year that you're going to graduate kind of thing. And I would say it doesn't even take 2 minutes to be bombarded. And I mean, just like it could be, private pictures, like nudity that they're sending you links to porn. And like the newest one that I see more often is kind of like a sugar baby thing. Like if you're a good girl, I will reward you with, like the Nikes that you really want that perfume. Your mom doesn't let you wear thongs. And I know you really want to, like all the girls, I could take you to Victoria's Secret. You just don't put them in your dirty clothes so your mom doesn't find them. Or send it to me. Like that's a new thing. Is like a kid can put a pair of dirty underwear in the mail, with a stamp on it. It wouldn't cost a lot of money to take a stamp from your mom. Underwear are very light, you could fold them up and put them in an envelope without them even knowing. And then
They're
they have your
asking for
child's
this.
address.
They're requesting for that.
Mm-hmm.
Jeez.
They request anything you can possibly think of. They thought of, because beyond what you would ever. Yeah, they ask for a lot. They ask for pictures of their younger brothers and sisters, and one a while ago, like basically playing Santa Claus, wanted pictures of baby sister, baby brother, the cousins I babysat. Ask for naked pictures because like, how did he know what size to get their pajamas? It's hard to tell with them wearing clothes. They make up some weird stuff, man, and it's stuff that a little kid would definitely fall for because these guys are nice.
Yeah.
They're very nice. They boost you up.
How long have you been doing this?
Like, what is it? May. We'll just say 3 years, but I think more, maybe, a few months more than that. We'll just say 3 years.
And about how many people have you been able to catch?
I would say I'm past 300 now.
Jeez.
It's hard to say because YouTube takes so many of them down, but like, I know I've got like 100 with this person, 50 with this person, and then all of the stragglers that, all the other teams that I work with a lot of teams
So real
to help
quick,
expose them.
when you say that you 50 with this person, 100 this, so you're partnering up with other decoys, or is it law enforcement, or
Well,
who?
like with law enforcement is involved at the end of the day because we turn everything in. But for example, there's like I'm sure a lot of people have heard of like the movement of the online predator, YouTube thing where people are, everyone does it a different way. I'm not really going to talk about other people's methods, but I've done catches myself. I get really angry. I am a survivor, victim, whatever anybody wants to call it. I get pretty angry and I want to, knock them in the face. So I try not to do too many exposures because I don't really want to put myself in that position. But I typically decoy for they call themselves catchers, where it's typically men, but there are some more women out there that are beginning to do it. They record everything start to finish for, their protection and the accused predator's protection, so that they can't say that anything happened that didn't, or they can't say anybody tried to put hands on them or threaten them to stand there and talk, because they are free to leave at any time. They're talking because they feel guilty and they're trying to talk their way out of it.
Sure.
I,
So
I just came here. I just came here to get something to eat, kind of thing.
yeah, I've watched a few of your videos, and I've seen a few of the other ones too. The Chris Hansen To Catch a Predator is probably the most famous show where they're
hmm
busting guys, and it's very difficult for them to deny when they specifically bring items that you talked about in the online chat. I mean, that seems to be the official you know illegal evidence that would
They don't
put them
even
away.
have to. They don't have to bring them anymore necessarily. I've had some where they didn't have them because this guy had a whole night plan, Takis, peanut M&Ms, a 4-pack of Red Bull. What else did he get? My decoy, a dog collar from the store. Now that he had on hand, but the rest, he bought an air conditioner to make her more comfortable because he wanted to do dirty stuff and it was hot in his house. But he didn't have the air conditioner in his back pocket and the 4-pack of Red Bull. But when he started being investigated and all of the chat logs were submitted, every single thing he asked the decoy if she wanted and if she confirmed it. There it was also, linked to his bank account and everything that he went and bought all of those items
So
and
he
they were
did
sitting there waiting.
he did go and
Yeah.
buy them. So where is the legal line? If somebody is online and they're chatting and they're saying inappropriate things to an underage person, is that illegal? Where is the
It
crime
really
actually
depends
committed?
on typically luring them, like offering them something to do something or to go somewhere. You're luring them out of their house. They did not contact you. You contacted them and asked them to
As
hang
as
out,
the
or
predator.
yeah. And a lot of times they try to do food, and my thing is like I always just ate, so they can never use that. Like I just ate dinner. What are you doing? Oh, just ate dinner. Just ate lunch. Just had a snack. But they typically like to do the well. They ask you all your favorite foods and your favorite color, and then they'll send you a picture of something that they say they bought from the store, but really they probably just screenshotted it, saying that, oh, I bought this little lingerie outfit, it happens to be your favorite color, or you said you love Taco Bell, like I got you a Taco Bell gift card, or I can meet you there if you want to meet me up there and we can have
Mm.
lunch. Or we can eat lunch in my car. That's another one, is they don't want to be seen. They don't want to be seen, but everything they send in their little fantasy world it's all taken seriously. It's not trolling, it's not role playing. As far as legality goes, it's so hard to say because I don't know what you consider a success. Like I consider exposing them a success because like I have a guy facing 19 charges of real child porn, and he's been going to court for over 2 years. I was just there Monday, not last Monday, the Monday before maybe. And the next one is at the end of June. And I mean, it's 6 to 8 court dates a year, and it's just moving every month and every month and every month. And why? He had 19 pictures of somebody's real child, and this man told me that his fantasy was to feel the insides of an 18-month-old, is what he told me. And he told me that when he was drunk, on the phone, but he told me that it was his deepest, darkest secret. And he told me that he molested his ex-girlfriend's kids and, everything like that. And I tried to get everybody's name so we could try to get them counseling and everything because that mother probably does not know.
Yeah.
Um, but this it you know it they'll do anything. They'll do anything because it's a kid. It's not like trial and error, like, oh man, I messed that one up. The kid's not going anywhere. They got handed an iPhone. They can be reached on platforms they aren't even necessarily on because these guys are so smart. They can find them anywhere.
Yeah. That's very disturbing, obviously. Do you have you done any sort of psychoanalysis to know what's driving this behavior? Like, why? I mean,
Well, a
that's just
lot of them
so.
will say that, I try to ask good questions and then I get mad because I know they're not telling me the truth. They're telling me what they think I want to hear. They're trying to, well, it was just a one-time thing. I don't care, but why did you do it one time? Well, I've never done like anything. I don't care if I'm asking you about these specific messages in my hand that you sent to whom you believe to be a little baby. Why did you do that? Well, I don't really know.
Mm,
Yes, you fucking do. Sorry. But it's like, yes, you do. You do know why.
yeah.
And sometimes they'll tell you the biggest, and I call it a cop out because I really don't, I think that it's what most of them go to because they did see To Catch a Predator. And they know that it's just, I don't know, because I've never been in a situation to why I'm a predator, but the thing that they pull out of the air is, well, because it happened to me when I was a kid. And most people think that if you get molested as a kid that you're gonna do it as an adult. And like there's a lot of us out there. There's a lot of us out there that don't even really come to terms with it, that they're adults that it actually happened to them because what
Hmm.
you do as a kid is you block certain things out for your own protection. You're so innocent in your body and your mind, it knows to block it out to protect you.
Hmm.
Because it's something that they can't handle and it truly is going to change their life for the worst.
Hmm.
There's no way that being molested can make your life better in any way, shape, or form. It's going to make their life worse, no matter how their life is at the moment. And it might take years for it to happen, but it's so hard to say because they won't tell it's so dark. They won't say, and there are certain people like that are serving life sentences, but it's like they've literally murdered so many souls for that to even be like considered. We find these guys that are doing it, that have the proof that they're doing it, and they just care more about drugs and everything else. And typically they get out of it when there's a real victim because the real victim is a child. A lot of times they are in love with their abuser. I was madly in love. I didn't get away until early 20s. And it literally took us to move states apart because I was groomed and I loved her. I it uh I did through and through. Like I really did. And it's messed up, man.
Would you be willing to share what happened to you and what age you were when it
Um
started? And
I I think I was 14 when I started, but I'm just gonna say 15. We'll round it up. But yeah,
how
she
did
was my manager at Hot Topic.
she
She
groom
worked
you?
at Hot Topic. She would call my school and well, she found me attractive, and I think she found me on MySpace. I don't want to say too many details because I'm gonna
Sure.
confront her one day. I've already sent her messages, but she messaged me on MySpace, connected with me that way. I mean, as a 14, 15-year-old kid, you go to the mall, and I graduated 2005, so this must have been like 2002 or 2003. I was a
Hmm.
little emo scene kid, loved Hot Topic. That was like, that stuff was, I don't know, that was just like my life was going to concerts and I loved music. I was a little emo kid and she liked the way I looked. I don't know if she liked the way I talked or the way I walked. I don't know exactly what it was, but she contacted me and then I would find myself coming up to the mall to see her. And like I said, she was a manager. She could like walk away whenever, like, throw me a little discount or whatever. I ended up getting a job there just days after I turned 16. And like stuff literally happened there. Stuff happened elsewhere. And when I was 15, she was like 23, so about 8 years older, 7 to 8 years older. Way old enough. It's not like she was 19 and I was 15, about to be 16. And that's still like suspicious, but like if you place seniors and freshmen together, the shit's bound to happen. And I don't think that that is necessarily a predator. I think that is young people being young and hormones going crazy, you know. Every young girl wants to be doted on and given attention. You're just learning your body. You're starting to realize that like other people think you're pretty, maybe you are pretty, or you know. And yeah, she just, man, she was an English major. She wrote me poems. She got tattoos on her body for me.
Wow.
And while all this is happening, I didn't even realize that she had a girlfriend, the same girlfriend that she had had, you know, just so much drama, and it ran so deep, and I really thought that it was love. Um, but yeah, calling, this is a ballsy thing. Like back in the day, we didn't have cell phones, you know. Well, cell phones were a thing, but you had to pay like 25 cents to send a text or
Yeah.
receive one. And you know, this, I said this bitch, this
Say it.
woman, this
Say it.
predator, this
Bitch.
child predator,
Yeah.
this bitch would call my school and like send them, you know, they would be like, oh, Miss So and so, have Miss So and so call her mother and father because they're not going to be able to pick her up for school or that kind of thing. She would just be like, have her call her boss at work, or you know what I mean, something like that. And I literally have to go like call her. She literally would reach out to me at school and pull me from, just be like, hey, what are you like? Yeah, because I worked at Arby's as well. I started working at Arby's when I was like 14, so it was like I had like two, like, man, yeah. But she would find a way to get to me,
Mm.
100%.
And do you think that she specifically targeted you based on perhaps family situation, like you were saying before? Some of the groomers are looking for, kids that
Yeah,
are either in a one-parent household or a certain
yeah, I
socioeconomic
would say that that
class.
probably was a huge part of it. I mean, my mom lives in like a crack motel to this day. You know, she had a lot of addiction problems, and I was with my mom, and the sad thing is, like my mom knew that she existed.
Mm,
Like my mom knew that this was happening, you know. So it's just one of those things. But she also was very like a character, very I don't know, charismatic. I don't know if that's even the right word.
mhm.
Very funny, very, if you thought you had a doubt, man, you wouldn't. You know, she just, it all just like went through the window. She was so convincing and everything. And I just think people knew that she was older. But like after I've like, you know, posted stuff like on social media, like over the last couple of years, I'm like, I don't know if anybody of you guys remember her, but you know, and people would be like, wow, I had no idea that she was really that old, or I acted so much older so they didn't realize, which I mean, I did. I looked a lot older for my age, but it was pretty obvious that I was still in high school and that I didn't have my license yet and that I lived
Mhm.
with my mommy, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I did act older, but I wasn't. You can't just have some of it be fantasy. Oh, she looks a little bit older. She's built different or whatever. That's not okay.
Hmm.
You know, so I don't know, but I know that actually I think she was, because man, I still find myself like defending her sometimes, you know. It's fucked up how this shit
Hmm.
works.
Hmm.
Because I want to say, oh no, she wasn't. Okay, well then why did she date my younger sister's friend when she was 18? Why was she dating a bunch of 18-year-olds when she was still in her 30s? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, well, and still to this day, just going after way younger. So I think that she is truly a predator, whether it's a child predator or just why are you swooping in with these people when they're 18, just going on their own, just messing with their heads? And then not leaving them alone for years. Like I know she still messes with some of us. Like she just tried to add me on Instagram last June, and I
Wow.
went and bought cigarettes. I went and bought fucking cigarettes when she did it, dude, because I didn't even know, I couldn't, like I was too scared to open the message, and I went to the store, and that was when I realized that cigarettes in Chicago are like almost $20. And cause and yeah, and
What?
I literally just smoked a few cigarettes back to back, and I opened it.
When did you get to the point where you realized it was inappropriate? You said that at first you were in love and she groomed you to feel that way. What
Oh,
was the pivot point?
I didn't know until, I don't know, maybe late 20s. Even
Did
when
that?
I was trying to get away, I didn't think it was child predator. I just thought that we, you know, we're really bad for each other. It's
Hmm.
toxic stuff. But I never realized that. Because you try to tell a young person that they're too young, but why? Like, I'm smart, I have a job, I have my driver's license, like, I want to go to school. What do you mean I'm too young? Like, I'm fucking awesome. And you can't try to tell, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, and they really
100%.
are trying to make something, and you try to tell them that, and they think it is because of them. They're not good enough, or they're not smart enough, or they're not old enough, and age is not something you can change. It's not like you. So then they start acting older and hang out with older people. Like, it really, when people, because some people did tell me I wasn't old enough, but I was like, I didn't care who they were. Like, my mom wasn't telling me no,
Hmm.
whatever.
Hmm.
So it's like, people, but some people did tell me, like, hey, this isn't right. I'm the child. Why isn't anybody stopping the adult from doing this? You know what I
Right.
mean? So sometimes I do find myself defending her. It's not like I was running the streets and like sneaking in her house or something. It was nothing like that.
Well,
But
that's the
yeah.
subtle nature of this, where for somebody that hasn't been exposed to this, they might think that every predator is an obvious looking creep that's very deceptive, that's very cunning, that does this, that, or is mentally ill or whatever. One of the biggest like eye opening things is to realize that this is everybody. It's the pastor, it's the
Mhm.
military guy, it's the
Oh
teacher,
my
it's the
gosh.
manager. Like, it's a woman. Most people think obviously it's men. Is that very rare,
Um,
by the way, that it was a woman, or is there a lot of women
um,
too?
it's not as common that the women get caught.
Mm.
They're typically closer, like, a boss, a family member, somebody that like already has access to kids pretty much. But it's funny that you said it's not always who we think that they are. My grandpa called me yesterday. I haven't talked to him in a couple of months, and he was chuckling. And sometimes we gotta laugh at this dark stuff
Hmm.
because it's dark and you don't want to get depressed over it. You want to try to let's fix it. But
Hmm.
my grandpa was cracking up. And I was like, "What's up? Why are you calling me just laughing, man?" And he goes, "You'll never guess what happened. My buddy so and so, he's got to get a new doctor." Why do I care? Like, okay, tell me why, Grandpa. What's going on? Because he got caught being a predator with a 15-year. The dude's doctor did, like
Mm.
a doctor. Like, he's supposed to serve and protect. Like, they sign an oath. Like, they're supposed to have like good moral character. A fucking doctor. And he's like, and now my buddy, because my grandpa's like super old. Now my buddy's got to find a new doctor, but like he shouldn't have drove down to wherever, and apparently he like physically assaulted the decoy, who was an FBI agent or something. So it's like, not only was he a child predator, he put hands on whom he believed to be a child the second he saw her.
Hmm.
So who
Hmm.
knows what, you know what I mean? It's like, and maybe they are being maybe some of them are being super romantic. Maybe some of them are tying people up and doing whatever they want to. And it doesn't matter how they're doing it. They're very wrong, but there is a million different ways they can do it.
Hmm. I was going to ask you, walk us through what you do. How do you catch a predator? What's your process? Where do you go? And then walk us through a typical scenario, or maybe walk us through your best catch, if you want to consider it that. Like, what happened?
Yeah, well, I still consider Terrence was the first catch that I went on after, almost probably a year. I decoyed for over a year at that point, and I was working for a team, and then I decided I want to do my own and then just work with everybody and work with a bunch of different catchers instead of just one. And I branched off on my own, and I was talking to this guy. His name is Terrence Brown. He's currently in prison right now, lost everything in the military. He was active military while he was doing all of this, even while he was like on the clock at work. But um, that was the first catch that I went on. And I brought somebody from Predator Catchers Incorporated with me. They're based in Indiana. And I brought him with me for support because I wasn't sure how it was going to go. You can watch videos all day. I didn't say a dang thing that I had written down. I had all these note cards. I didn't say a single thing on the note cards. I don't know if I said a single thing that I really meant to say, but it happened so fast. The catch itself happened so fast. But I guess let me backtrack. This guy was in this. I don't have him anymore because when you really think about it, you could be putting people in danger. But I had like I would call them like a teen chat room or whatever. And it was just me on a shit ton of accounts. And I just like, it was all like edited pictures to make it look like there were like different active accounts in there, but it was just me on a crap ton of accounts. But every once in a while, like a real teen would come in and be like, "Hey, can I verify?" And I'm like, "Well, that's not me because I'm clearly not talking to myself." So I'm like, block them, ban them, like get them out. But that's scary to think that they are on these apps that predators are on. And why wouldn't they be? A lot of these are rated 13 up, 12 up. Like, why are the predators going into a room that says 12 to 17 years old?
Mm-hmm.
It says teen chat room ages 12 to 17, or
Mm-hmm.
any, that's just like just something like I made up, but like they're just like, it's very obvious, that it's like a teen chat room. And this guy came in and it was just a bunch of fucking predators, sorry, and myself just chatting, just, oh, what did you do at school today? Blah blah blah. He wanted to be cool. He didn't necessarily know how old my decoy was, but it was clear that she was like either in middle school or like early high school and that kind of thing. But I didn't really ever I didn't ever say too much for him in the chat room. And then a guy came into the chat room and said, "All of you guys are disgusting perverts." I didn't even realize this was a teen chat room. I went to verify, and that girl is 12 years old. All of you ought to go to hell and be ashamed of yourself. If you didn't know this was a kid's room before, and now you know. And then the dude left the chat room. And it's like sometimes people say stuff like that, and then they come back at, it's like they're so tricky. But that guy was serious. He was literally disgusted that he had just somehow stumbled into a kid's room, and was like, oh my God. And then he was like, please take care of yourself. I wish I knew who your parents were, but even talking this much right now, I shouldn't be doing it. This isn't my job to protect you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true too. We all do want to protect kids, but at the same time, you can't talk sexual to them and say you're trying to protect them.
Sure.
um but when that man came in and dropped that I was 12 years old, I got a message from Terrence 2 seconds later. Oh my God, you're 12? Oh, just confirming the age. I didn't even have to age drop because he did it himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then just all went downhill from there. Talked on the phone, we went, caught him, turned in all the evidence, and then the
Real
military
quick,
took
can I
over.
can I pause you for a second? So
Yeah.
he solicited you through a private message. You got to talking with him. So you developed an initial
Oh,
part of a
yeah. I mean,
relationship.
yeah, he knew all of the decoys, like, favorite colors, favorite food, and would bring them up often. He would reference something that my decoy said 3, 4 months ago. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, did you actually catch feelings for this kid? Are you trying to convince yourself that you did? Like, what is going on? Like, some of them remember stuff, some of them don't. And I don't know if it's because they're talking to so many that they are truly getting all these little kids mixed up. I try not to refer to it as me because like
Yeah.
during catches, I start saying me and they're like, what? I'm like, it gets confusing.
Gotcha.
So sorry, I go back and forth with that. But and it's like, it's not that they're just after girls either. They target boys because they like boys, and then they also target boys because they think that the boy might have trusted female friends as well. There's so many different angles that they take. I've had it where I'm running a male's account and my female account, and they're messaging the male saying like, "Hey, have you ever hooked up with so and so? Like, how is she? Like, will she, suck your dick or whatever? Like, if you hang out with her, do you have to like take her on a date, or like, will she just go for it?" And I'm like, oh my God, they think they're talking to a 12-year-old boy about an 11-year-old girl's sex life. Like they're feeling it out through another one.
Wow.
Like there's no they and that's, and it's like, it's shocking to somebody that's never heard it. And to me, it's like, it's just another thing that they do. They do. I'm not laughing because it's funny. It's
No, I
like,
know.
it's just crazy.
It's
I'm trying to think
overwhelming.
of more examples because there's so many.
So are the
Yeah.
predators do they typically like one gender over the other, or are you saying that there's some that will go after both?
Yeah, there's some that go after both, where they say that they wouldn't like the one that's facing 19 charges of child porn. I called him "Is that wrong, Pred?" on my channel because he would, like, when I did phone call, I did 10.5 hour phone calls with this guy. So he thought he was taking this child away for 10 hours at a time. It was so weird. And if you try to, well, I have to do my homework. No, 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 no. Talk to me. Well, I don't want to fail my test. No, no, just, I'm what's important. Remember, you love me. Like they're literally, like, he was like begging 24/7, would sing songs to my decoy on the phone, make her cards, send her pictures of the cards.
This is Terrence.
Really, really bad. No, this one is his name is Jerome.
Okay.
Jerome Vahari. Um,
So going back to Terrence for a
Jerome
second.
Vahari Jr. Sorry. He's a
That's right.
junior. His dad is not the predator. I apologize. They have the
No, that's
same
all good.
name. They're both assholes though.
So Terrence contacted you. He reached out, privately messaged with you. You guys started talking for a little while. At what point did you agree to meet up? How many months in was this?
Well, he had been, I was living, okay, I believe he reached out, if I remember correctly, it was February, and I caught him like the last week of July. And I live in Chicago, and he lived in Tacoma, Washington. So it took a minute to decide, like, is he just playing games or like, is he really gonna meet, you know? And you really don't know until you know.
Hmm.
He could have just promised we could have got there and he not showed up. But he kept asking about it and asking about it, and we drove 2,400 miles out to Tacoma, Washington to confront that dude. Didn't,
Amazing.
took turns driving, skipped a hotel, only got one hotel on the way there, one on the way back to make sure we showered, but we weren't trying to drag it out. I didn't even want it to last that long, but there's pretty much, if you look at all of these YouTube channels, and there's people that do it privately that don't even post it on YouTube and they just go straight to law enforcement. There just wasn't any catchers in Washington. I wanted to say, hey, call someone, hey, can you go get him on this date, whatever. And there was just something about that man that I wanted to look him in his eyes and ask him, what it can tell me why, like, why do we have this problem? Just please tell me, But he stuck with, I'm just, depressed, and me and my wife aren't getting along. Get the fuck out of here. And you can cry and do the baby. Well, you're a danger. So anytime you get depressed and your wife doesn't like you and she doesn't cook the right dinner, then anybody's child is fair game. Like, I don't care what your
Yeah.
excuse is. If you did it once, why wouldn't you do it again? If I
Yeah.
stole something and I got away with it, you better believe I'm gonna fucking do it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it just,
Well, I saw the video. You sent that to me and I watched it. And what was interesting about that one was, first and foremost, A, that he was in the military, B, that he looked like the average everyday person you'd see. There was no like nothing that stood out. He seemed economically, it's not, he dressed well. He was a good looking guy. He was fit. Uh,
yeah,
Nothing that would register, which is concerning because it's like we all, the average innocent people are who are trying to protect these children, are looking for some type of common thread throughout all these that will bring up some level of awareness so that we can help protect these kids. And it was interesting because when you did confront him, was it at a Target, I think, or something, and then you were out in the parking lot,
Petco.
Petco, you were out in the parking lot, and it's like it didn't really seem to crush him until he started to consider how it was going to affect his career and how it was going to affect him. And I'm like, dude, but and you guys kept, you and the other catcher that you were with were trying to say like, you're ruining. I think you used the word murdering her soul. Like you're taking the soul away from this child, and he's devastated about he kept saying, so you telling me I just spent the last 20 years for nothing in the military? Is that what you're
Yeah.
trying to tell me? It's like, dude,
I don't know. You tell me, dude.
yeah,
You tell me, dude. Did you? Because see, the thing is, you say like, well, why didn't it register? So he was convicted beyond a reasonable doubt because there were, I mean, and I had, I don't know how many hours this court took. I mean, it was morning till 10, I mean, on the stand till like nighttime.
mm,
And they had to play every single one of those calls, and they had to play the catch. Every single one of those calls are so cringe. I couldn't even, oh my
what
God,
did
it
he
was so
do during
bad.
that?
To have to, well, just to hear myself talk like that and not laugh when I'm staring at a panel because I troll them. I say stupid stuff because they will just roll with it. I say stuff about like your body that is not even true, and they'll start trying to explain anatomy and like how my body works, and they're nowhere close as but they will like literally pretend like they're teaching you something.
What was he doing when the calls were being played again in front of a the whole courtroom?
Oh, he was sitting right next to me. He was sitting, it was weird. In other courts, they sit across from you. In this courtroom, the way it's set up, when I was on the stand, the judge was on my left And all I had to do was look to the right. I saw his lawyer, and if I looked a little bit more, I would see. And anytime he said something really nasty, I would just look at him and he would put his head down and look at the ground.
Mm.
Um, because he had to finally see the person he was talking to again. And, what was I gonna say about the things on the phone? Darn it.
You were talking about
He said some pretty bad. Sorry, go ahead.
you were talking about uh, that you were trolling them essentially, and these guys were pretending like they
Oh
knew
yeah.
anatomy or
I would
whatever.
Yeah, so I would say like silly things sometimes, and it's like you could be like, "Oh, what's your favorite color? Purple." Well, my balls are really purple right now, or blue. Like they just turn everything sexual. And his thing, like he thought out loud a lot. He'd be like, he's like, I really shouldn't be doing this, but I just think you're so cute, and I just want to take your innocence away from you. And you say, "Oh, legally, like I really shouldn't be doing this. I could get kicked out of the military." Those words came out of his mouth. He said that he could get kicked out of the military and lose everything. I think he said it 5, 6 times,
Mm,
but that he didn't care because it was going
mm,
to be worth it. He
mm,
said those words. And I mean,
mm,
all of the panel members and jury members, well, it's called panel because their eyes just would like I could see they're supposed to keep a straight face, but they would just be like,
mm,
you said it. You can't say you didn't know. Like
mm-hmm,
all the dumb excuses that people start believing for a half a second just because you served your country. Like not everybody's serving their country for the right reasons either, first of all. But I mean, it's still an honorable thing, no matter why you're doing it. But like he said it out loud. He said, I'm guilty. And at one point, I remember he said, I'm guilty. I'm guilty of going into that chat room for the wrong reasons, just like anybody else that's in there. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Why are you in there? I thought you just like wanted to like maybe give help with homework or whatever.
mm,
No. I'm guilty because like I want to fool around with the younger girl. He told me that he had done role play before in the past and it wasn't enough for him because he knew it wasn't real. It's like,
mm,
so sometimes I think there are steps to this where like they try this and this and this, like maybe they have their girlfriend act like their girlfriend is the daughter. First of all, that should be a red flag to the girlfriend. That type of thing. Like, why is that getting your man hard thinking about a child? Having you
yeah,
act like a child. It's a little sus. People say the daddy thing or whatever, but when he's asking you to act like a child, I think that should be a red flag. So I
yeah,
think people playing little games like that feeds into it until they get curious enough about the real thing because they've already taken all the steps legally available until that. So I think some of it does build up in steps, and I think some just fucking jump right in. They don't care what temperature the water is.
yeah.
They just jump right in.
What are things that people should be aware of, parents especially, about how to better protect their kids? What can you shed some light on what people need to be aware of just to raise the awareness of how bad this is and
Yeah,
also what to
it's
look for?
yeah, I mean, well, I'm not a parent. But starting with when they're young and calling their body parts like atomically like correct, like I think I just said that word wrong. Like calling their penis a penis, calling their vagina a vagina, setting boundaries, letting them know that, we don't have secrets with anybody. We can have maybe special surprises, but you can always tell mom and dad about the special surprises, like stuff like that. People posting everything on social media these days, you're giving people access. People are screenshotting the diaper pictures of your children and they're selling them to people, or they're finding like where you live and stuff and watching your child grow up and like you see these things on the news where they go and the dude meets the kid and he kills the family, to the mom and dad because he wants that relationship with the daughter or the son or whatever it may be, or they're catfishing as a kid. That's like the biggest one. They're catfishing at maybe they're trying to get in seventh or eighth grade girl, so they find pictures of a ninth grader, 10th grader, somebody that a seventh or eighth grader would think is like super cute, because
Mm-hmm,
everybody, when you're a girl, you think of it like the boy in the next grade is like so hot or whatever.
mm-hmm,
And they catfish them and then they fucking steal them. And then I can't even talk about in depth like what they do to them, but it's like the access to where they're just able to get them to be able to do that. So making them believe that maybe okay, so if you want something and your mom doesn't buy it for you, wow, your mom is a really bad mom. Like we need to get you those AirPods or that iPad that you really want. Wow, your mom really won't. Like that's not normal. Your mom is neglecting you, or They try to isolate you away from your friends and family. Pay attention to your kids, man. When they normally come to dinner and they normally have an appetite, why don't they anymore? Why are they just glued to their headset in their room? Why are they no longer friends with that girl at school? It's probably because this dude does not want them talking to their best friend anymore. He wants her for himself, you know?
Mm.
Things like that. Checking their devices. If you buy your kid a phone and give them access to the internet, I this is a hard one for me to put words on because nobody is really to blame except for the bad person. I don't know how to explain it, but like phones are crazy. They can do anything and it's just going to keep getting worse and then there's hackers and then there's people that are just out there to break the rules and see what they can infiltrate, you know, just see what evil, what bad they can do. And you can't hand your kid an iPhone and expect nothing to happen. That's just the way I'll put it. You got to expect it to happen so that you can protect them against it. There are
Well, it's such a
apps
good
you can
point.
get. There's
You wouldn't take your child and drop them off at a bar. You wouldn't take your child and drop them
no.
off at a adult nightclub. And yet when you give them a phone, you really are giving them open doors to all of that, sadly.
Mhm.
And or you're giving them access to places that should be really frankly for teens or children or whatever, but there's no locked door for other people to get in. So we really
No.
need to be much more mindful about what we're giving our children, how to create those boundaries, develop the rapport and trust with our kids so that you have open dialogue and communication. To your
That
point,
is it.
observing their behavior, seeing any break in that pattern. And it's tough because kids go through phases. Kids go through unnatural
And not, yeah, yeah.
phases as teens to kind of pull away from mom and dad. But um,
Mhm. And don't criticize them when it happens either. When they come to you and they tell
yeah,
you that they maybe are interested in someone older, or that they did do something with somebody older, like, you know, like, man, sex happens. I understand it's against a lot of people's religions and stuff like that, but like kids, they have the urge to kiss each other and do whatever. Like it's so gross and weird to think about, but it's like we were all once there. We all caught feelings for anybody that talked to us. Your math teacher, your anybody. It didn't take anything for anybody to be cute. And you look back and you're like, wow, they were absolutely disgusting. Like, what was I thinking? Like, I don't even how do kids find each other cute? Like, kids are so ugly. Like, I love them. They're sweet, innocent, but it's like we were all so goofy looking. And how
yeah,
could a man want to have sex with somebody that's missing three front teeth, with their little bangs curled, wearing the dress that matches their little sister? And it's like they love that. They love that you're missing those teeth and that your bangs are curled and in pigtails and that you have a matching dress as your
there's something
sister. They
psychologically
love
fucked
it.
up there. Yeah. Uh,
It's hard to say if you're born with it. Did you? It's like they're all fucking liars. So instead of like, I'm not saying like let's give up on trying to figure out why, but there could be a million reasons why. But
yeah.
there's also a million ways to protect your kids, and it's like maybe not checking your kids' device is the best way. Maybe you don't necessarily have to do that because you really have a good relationship with them, and you know that they wouldn't fall for something like that. You know, but to just assume that is ridiculous.
One of the things that I've done
Because
as
I
a
was a
parent,
very smart kid. I was a
one of the
smart
things
kid and I let it happen.
one of the things that I've done as a parent is I've let my kids know that there's just no way that I can police every little thing that they do. First and foremost, the access that they can have and or stumble onto, or somebody sends them a link, like it's just almost inevitable that that's partly going to be their reality. Even if they didn't have those phones, they're at the friend's house and the
Mhm.
friend has an older brother or
Yep.
sister. There's just, they're at school, other kids are going to have it. It's the world that we live in right now. So one of the things that I told them was, guys, first and foremost, you can't unsee what you see. So tread lightly and you have plenty of time. And I said, there's a lot of adult stuff that's out there. You can't unsee what you see. And when you see it, like it's gonna wire you in a certain way. And you don't want to take that on too early. So, part of that was developing the rapport and trust with my kids in the first place. And I have to trust them. I have to trust them. because I can't police
Mm.
everything. So I said, number one, you
Mm.
can't unsee what you see, so tread very lightly, you know. Number two, if you do come across something, if somebody sends you something, or if you got curious, let's be real. Like you said, we are innately sexual beings. That is part of our nature. So it's understandable that kids are going to be curious. So if you do happen to see something that is disturbing or it felt off or whatever, I said, come to me. Let's talk about it. And so one of the things that I monitor as a parent is how many times is my child coming to me saying, oh, I saw something or I heard something or did you know about this? And I want to reward them for that. Like, thank you so much for coming to me. That's really great. What did
Yeah.
you think about that? What did you, how does that feel? Like, let's talk
Hmm.
about this, you know? And so you're really developing that trust and that bond and that communication so that God forbid something happens that's even more inappropriate, they know that there's an outlet and a trusted, you know, person that they have that has their back.
And they can protect other kids as well, because kids are just a product of sex. Most of us are not. My mom had me in high school,
Mm.
and my grandma wouldn't let her get an abortion, because she was Catholic, and whatever the reason may be. But my mom didn't want to, have me or whatever. But my mom did tell me those things. Like, me and my mom, I knew that I could come and talk to her. I knew that if I wanted to have sex, that we could get birth control, because she didn't. My grandma wouldn't let her do anything, and she didn't want me to rebel just because I'm curious, because the answer was just no. Why?
Mm.
Because I fucking said so. I'm your mom.
Mm-hmm.
So she didn't want it to be like that. So I really was allowed to. I never did drugs. I never drank. I was a straight edge kid. I didn't try anything until about 19. Um, I was a really, like, I was a good kid.
And where was your dad in all?
They're divorced. I mean, I would see him like sometimes, but it wasn't like they didn't have like custody figure, when you don't have money, you figure stuff out, low key, and they had whatever agreement they had to see us. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. No, I have a relationship with my dad now. My dad's cool. I don't talk to my mom anymore though.
Is he aware of
But
what happened?
yeah, and he feels terrible that he wasn't, like, it's no, but it wasn't my dad's fault, but
Sure.
yeah, he feels terrible about it. And some people think what I do is so weird, and then I get people that will just randomly reach out years later, like very emotional, saying like, I'm so sorry, like I didn't know. And I'm like, it's not, it's nobody's fault, like, really, but hers. But like, I want you to learn from my terrible experience, and be there for somebody else. And a kid coming from a really good home that, parents really did teach them not just stranger danger, but like really teach them like the ins and outs, like how you said you have this cool relationship with your kids, and maybe they'll never find themselves in that situation, but maybe they have a friend at school who's also a good kid, or who cares, a fucking bad kid. Who
Mm-hmm.
cares? They're a fucking innocent
Yep.
child. But maybe they have somebody at school where they notice the behavior change because their parents are drug addicts. And that's just another thing. It's like you feel so bad for drug addicts, because like they want to get clean and they're trying, but they're trying to get their life in order. How are they going to notice changes in their kid when they are trying to get clean on drugs?
Yeah,
Or
it's
like
not
they,
gonna
you know
happen.
what I mean? They're going through their own changes. So it's like, man, it's just like we all got to watch out for each other, man. Like we got to be aware when somebody in your neighborhood is exposed for something like this. I'm not saying go give it a thumbs up and like give it a view or whatever. Screenshot that. You don't need to watch that whole video. It's traumatizing. I can't watch half of these catch. I don't even watch half of my own catches because it's awful.
Mm-hmm.
I tell the dude to meet there when to meet there, and they get it. I will watch them sometimes. I've got like three by Skeeter right now that I haven't even. Skeeter Jean is the catcher, and he's been, uploading the catches. I haven't even watched them yet, but it's like, ugh, I'm already like washed my hands of those fools. Like I don't even necessarily need to see until it goes to court. I mean, I wasn't there. I wasn't necessarily a witness. I'll be there for, my what I had a part in it for, but
Mm-hmm.
not everyone's going to get into watching all these guys, go to jail, because typically they fucking don't. And it's like they're still walking around in your neighborhood. And the ones that just got out of jail, we just caught one in Tampa last month. He just got off of probation for 3 weeks. He's still a registered sex offender, all that. But it only took 3 weeks for him to physically try to meet somebody. And
Mm.
he even, said that he had gotten in trouble before. I wouldn't go into detail about why, but it was different. No, it was a real was a real kid. And half of the time, these guys get off because the child is not, which no fault of them, the child is not strong enough to testify against them in court. How can
Hmm.
you look? Most grown adults can't face their own abuser, let alone a kid,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
when you haven't given them any training with how to deal with this type of thing. Maybe you don't know, but if you can Google how to make a recipe or Google how to make your favorite mixed drink for your girls' night, you can Google how to protect your kids against online predators. Like there
Well,
are resources out there.
and I will say this too.
You know.
This is a call to action for men. Men, in my humble opinion, it is our duty as fathers, as adult men, to, like you said, if you're in touch with your kids, you're connected to your kids, you've got good rapport, trust, communication with your kids, great. Ask about their friends. As men, as fathers, you know that the rest in your community, that these kids are not going to have, not all of them are going to have fathers there. And obviously mothers can do an
Mhm.
excellent job. Mama bears coming out to protect their kids, but if you're a single mom, it's just tough. And
Yeah.
guys, I think men have we're wired a little bit more to be able to compartmentalize our emotions so that we can witness really horrific shit and deal with it emotionally later. But it's
Mhm.
specifically in these cases where we have to be aware of how bad this problem really is in order for us to respond to it. So, to me, it's a call to action for men to step up and start to look at, like you were just saying, some of these videos, get connected to
Yeah.
some of these traffic catching organizations. For those that might be interested in helping, do you have any suggestions there? You and I briefly talked about that, but if somebody wants to
Um,
be a soldier in
it's
this life,
hard to
how do they
say
do it?
how to help it. Yeah. I mean, you can catch your own predators. You can decoy, and man, there's a lot that goes into it. But even just doing your own research before coming to somebody that's really busy with a bunch of questions, because it's very easy to get when it's an innocent kid. When you see somebody getting caught, okay, well now they're not talking to any kids, like they're being exposed for it. So it's like it's very easy to be inspired, like to oh my God, like I want to help with this, like I want to protect kids. Do you have kids? I would start with learning on like finding the resources so that if somebody came to you, you would have resources to give them. Like if somebody came to you for help, how would you help them? Because you can't just jump in and help without knowing how to help. So, and also if you do decide to decoy, learn your local and state laws. Don't send any nude photos if you're pretending to be a child. There's a million little things that you would have to do to protect yourself. But even just making an account and just seeing what happens, you don't even have to say anything back.
When you and I have talked several times, and you're not doing anything to seduce, to provocate.
Absolutely not.
You're just simply the whole
No.
decoy is just you being a kid. Like that's literally the whole decoy.
You
That's
you could
troubling.
literally just say, "Oh, I got a new puppy." The last I got a new puppy because I do have a puppy. I got a new puppy. Oh wow, did you get the puppy? So and the dude started going on about bestiality. I'm sorry, what? Like I'm a child. Did I get the dog so that I could let the dog do sex things to me? What? Like a kid would never even like an adult is still like, what?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And there's these guys there, and there's a whole group of, and that's a whole nother story. I found a whole group of like animal fuckers. And a lot of them talked about where they lived on farms when they were younger, and they literally started doing this stuff when they were kids.
Mm.
And it's like, but now they want to teach young teens that it's okay to be weird. It's okay to not fit in with everybody else. And like that part is true, but not trying to have sex with an animal, which also cannot consent. And then another thing that really bothers me is like when, you see a freshman hanging out with seniors, and then that senior is going to graduate, and that senior is going to turn 20, 21, 22, and that freshman, they're still going to be homies. Well, when you are going to pick up your homie and you're checking out an eighth grader or a ninth grader, like I feel like y'all, like the men and women, I don't mean to say like violence, but my quick thing is y'all need to be backhanding your friend or popping them on the back of the head like, yo, we don't do that. Like, maybe I'm 19 or 18, but you're in your 20s, man. Like, what are you doing? Because maybe they don't realize it, maybe,
They
but they
realize it.
keep
They
doing
know.
it. And it's like, And it's like, this shit keeps happening. And I do understand that if a girl is wearing a crop top and she has her belly button pierced and her nose pierced, it does not mean that she's 18 years old, you know? And if you're in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, what are you wanting to talk to an 18-year-old anyways? If you're trying to decide if she's 18, she ain't the one, and stop looking. That's messed up, you know?
There's
It's
yeah,
weird.
shame is an emotion. We have the emotion of shame for a reason. But like you said,
Hmm.
if there's other people around you and you're noticing inappropriate behavior, yeah, the whop upside the head or something,
Speak up.
speak
Say
up.
something. You
Yeah.
have to say something. Like, that's my whole thing, is speak up. The kids are afraid to speak up because it's happening, because you're afraid to talk to them about it. Nobody is speaking up. Everybody needs to speak up. And when these guys get caught, and they get caught putting a the poor single moms letting the white knight, come in, and now they got a video camera in their shower, and they got kids, and the dude's just waiting for them to turn 18 so they can run away and get married to the woman's child. Like, we gotta do better, but we gotta help each other in order for that to happen. And it's just paying attention and speaking up. I'm
Hmm.
not saying be like a little creep and think everybody is, a child predator, but we got to pay attention and speak up. And when you find somebody in your area that, if somebody has an exposure video of somebody in your area, don't necessarily, I'm not saying share the view or share the video, like view it and give it like a thumbs up. Like, that is all dumb. Don't do that. Nobody cares about that. Screenshot their face, find where they're at in the registry, find out where they live, not to go hurt them or anything, but so you can tell your kids, we're not going to go over here. You see this man, if you ever even see him over in our yard, got to tell somebody,
Hmm.
like, there's a reason that the registry exists. They're
Hmm.
trying to do away with it. We need to use it while it's here. They're trying to do away with all of this. They're trying to make it to where this stuff does not matter, which is really scary.
It is very scary.
Really, really scary.
It's very scary. It's a big problem. So anyway, I appreciate you being on the front lines, for doing what you're doing, taking a very negative and horrific experience and turning it into some good. It's very inspiring what you're doing, and your courage is very uplifting.
Thank you.
For those that are wanting to maybe reach out, see what you're doing, to watch some of your catches, where can they go?
Well, my catches have pretty much all been removed on YouTube except for like a group catch, which is
What
me and
does
some
that
other
tell you?
catchers that got together,
Jesus.
which,
Like what,
yeah.
YouTube, the stuff that's on YouTube, but that has to be taken
Yeah,
down?
oh,
Come on.
predators are their own protected. I can't remember the word that they use. I had to look it up in the dictionary. I'm not even gonna lie to you. But the definition of the word was basically like their own private protected group. So pedophiles, child predators, they are their own protected group now, and it's just gonna keep getting worse if we don't stand up against it.
Yep.
But I would like to say, well, before I say my stuff, Bark Technologies is, I know, like, I don't think people should be going Amish and saying, hey, your kid don't get a phone. I heard this podcast, we're taking your phones. Like, okay, that's weird. Now your kid is really going to jump through hoops because they want to know what they could have found on that phone. Like,
Yep.
it is 2023. They need to do their homework. Things are not done the way they used to be. So I'm not saying steal your kid's phone, and I'm not saying police them and be rude. This is something, if you can build this trust with your kid, it's going to help you in their relationship for the rest of your life. But Bark Technology is a smartphone, and I'm not like sponsored or anything. They literally have been working on this for years and just came out with it, I think late last year and beginning this year. It's
The
a
phone
smartphone,
itself,
and
is
it's
that right?
like, yeah, it's a smartphone, but it's like it will send you a message when there's certain trigger word. Like,
Mm.
it's like a parent's dream to monitor your child's device, and they really have a lot of privacy at the same
So it's
time.
not an
But it
app.
is a
It's the actual phone itself.
no, it's an actual phone. It's
Okay.
called Bark, like BARK, like it's got a little dog. They're on Instagram,
Bark.
they're everywhere. I have no idea how much it costs. I just share their stuff because it's just so real and it seems so simple. You don't know how to do the apps. You don't Okay, well then you get the new phone. And it's just one of those things. And then just something to look into as far as once you start searching for that, how everything collects your data, more stuff is going to pop up and wow, look, now you have options.
Hmm.
But it's just one of those things. So Bark Technology is something to look into if you are considering into monitoring your child's device, which I would highly recommend. Also, I follow on Instagram, and I believe I don't use Twitter and Facebook and such, but her name is Yami Pence, Yamipence. And let me just double check that I do have that. Yeah. Yamipence.
Okay.
She pretty much is like child safety education on
Mm.
Instagram and Facebook, Twitter. She was a detective. She would go and bust these dudes, but you can only do that stuff. It took a mental toll. Now she's a great mom. She couldn't do it anymore, and now she's just looking out for everybody. And she has the best tips and tricks. And if you didn't like it in her first video, by the time you see the fifth one, she's gonna say something that resonates with you. That's gonna be like, okay, I can do this. Like I got
Hmm.
this, you know.
Hmm.
So she is great. So just following her and her tips and tricks, amazing. As far as I go, YouTube has taken a lot of my stuff down. I do still live stream my phone calls there. They are very triggering. They're not for everybody. I laugh and I joke around in them because I am playing a child, so it's not something that people find funny. But some people follow me to where they're waiting. I give him a nickname like Terrence was the slick Fred because he thought he was so slick. So it's like when people knew I was going to catch the slick Fred, they're like, "Oh my God, I heard his calls. I just got to see who his face is." But then if they also live there, they could share it with somebody they know. So I still do my phone calls on YouTube, but Rumble, if you would like to see the predators that I expose, most of them are on an app called Rumble. It's free. It's just like YouTube. My name on there is T-coy the Decoy, which is just Tcoy and then Thedecoy. So T-coy the Decoy on Instagram, on YouTube, on Rumble, and I have a Facebook, but I don't. I don't know how to use Facebook. I have one, but I'm pretty sure it's just all sex bots like that, or sending
I
me
know.
messages,
That's so annoying.
asking me if I want to be their sugar baby and their Bitcoin bitch or whatever. But all weird stuff like that. So, it's just I'm pretty active on Instagram. I do have email as well. But yeah, the best way to start is just to start reading. They say there's no stupid questions, but it's like a Google search away for some of these things. And I love to talk to people, and I do want people to help. So I gotta not be so closed off. But yeah, watch some stuff first before you ask, because a lot of your questions are gonna be answered.
Yeah.
um Read some stuff about your laws. I expose people when they're attacking a child's innocence. I don't care if they didn't say that they wanted to necessarily put their penis in their vagina. It's because this guy's already a registered sex offender, and he learned in prison that he can't say that, and that he's safe if he doesn't say that. So yeah, I'm still gonna go expose him. Legally, nothing might be able to happen, but at least everybody in the Facebook neighborhood that got shared knows to watch out for that man.
Yeah.
And when they're at the grocery store, when that dude for some reason keeps lagging behind and following you around, like there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
Just be aware, be vigilant, be aware of your surroundings. I haven't even touched on trafficking because that's just like a whole nother thing. But it's like,
No.
be vigilant. Know what's going on. What's it gonna hurt? It's only gonna help you. And check this stuff out. If you want to check out others, there's Peter Jean, Protect the Innocent,
I'm a big
and
fan of
everybody.
Operation Underground Rescue with Tim Ballard. He's the one that they're doing a Hollywood movie that should be out. Actually, I don't know if it's Hollywood. It's probably not Hollywood considering the subject matter, but it's coming out, I think, this month or maybe next month with Jim Caviezel. It's his whole story. It looks fantastic.
Yeah, I might have to have you link me to that. There's some other movie being made about pretty much, like this whole movement that's going
Yeah.
on. And I think it's kind of like slightly underground. I don't know if it needs funding, but I've seen like little trailers for it. And to me, it looks great. But,
Yeah.
like I'm into, my thing. So it might
Yeah.
not seem great to everybody else. But if it
Well,
seems unbelievable, just know that somebody tried it and it is believable.
yeah.
And if nobody has tried whatever you think is unbelievable, now this is an idea in somebody's head to where they will.
Yeah.
It's all believable.
Yeah. Sadly.
Yeah. One more thing. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to scare anybody. I know, like, it just sounds like I'm being so blunt, and like that if you're a single mom, you should just be able to get your shit together. And no, like, I'm asking you to like get help and ask for help and resources. I don't think it's easy. I
No,
don't
not
think
at
it would
all.
be easy to start checking their device and find something. Like, Now you are going to need therapy, but we got to do something. And I don't know how else to do it other than share these screenshots on Instagram of these guys saying, does your mom check your phone? Can you delete your messages? Can we talk somewhere else to where she can't see it? If you take a picture, does it go to the cloud? You know, like I post these messages so people can see this is what they're saying to whom they believe to be a kid. Why
Yeah.
wouldn't they be saying it to yours?
Yep.
Your child is
100%.
beautiful, right?
Yeah.
You know, and they don't even have, they could be, it doesn't matter who thinks like physically, it's just why wouldn't it be your kid? And it
Yeah.
sounds so scary. It is scary. I'm just not trying to scare anybody. It's just we can stop it all for the most
Yeah.
part. So let's
Agreed.
try. Let's try.
Agreed. We have to. We have to. People's lives depend on it, really. Thank you so much again for your time today and for
Absolutely.
sharing your experiences and shedding some more light on this very problematic issue, but certainly a fight worth having for our kids. So, again, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Wired for Impact. If you're interested in creating and expanding your impact, be sure to visit us online at impactnow.com.